The Nigeria coat of arms. The Nigeria coat of arms has 7 features. The coat of arms of Nigeria has a black shield with 2 white lines that form in a Y shape. The black shield represents Nigeria's fertile soil, while the 2 horses or chargers on each side represent dignity. The eagle represents strength, while the green and white bands on the top of the shield represent the rich soil. 1. The red flowers at the base are Costus spectabilis, Nigeria's national flower. This flower was chosen for inclusion in the coat of arms as it is found all over Nigeria and also stand for the beauty of the nation. The white wavy pole represents the Niger and the Benue. On the banderole around the base is Nigeria's national motto since 1978, Unity and Faith, Peace and Progress, formerly Peace, Unity, Freedom. The American President Barack Obama has said that Nigeria is critical to the rest of the continent, and if Nigeria does not get it right, Africa will really not make more progress. Do you think they really want Nigeria to get it right? They don't want right for Nigeria because they are always predicting the division of Nigeria. They are seeing a greater Nigeria in the future. Nigeria unite. Brief. Civil war. Major ethnic group. Natural resources. Corruption. Politics. Boko Haram. Militants. Herdsmen. Crisis. Divide. Unite. Peace. Giant of Africa, Africa's superpower. The world powers. Nigeria, brief. Nigeria, officially the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is a country in West Africa. It shares land borders with the Republic of Benin in the west, Chad and Cameroon in the east, Niger in the north, and borders the Gulf of Guinea in the south, and has an area of 923,768 square kilometers. With an estimated 181 million people as of 2015, Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa and the 7th most populous country in the world. It is the largest African oil producer and, since April 2014, the largest economy in Africa. A founding member of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, it is one of the top 10 oil producers in the world, but has been racked by violence in the oil-rich Niger Delta, where locals demand a larger share of petroleum profits. The country has a mix of religions, including Christianity, Islam, and traditional beliefs, as well as a variety of ethnic groups, such as the Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. Questions to Nigerians. What do you think of Nigeria if there is sustainable development? Do you think foreign countries are not jealous about the natural endowment? Nigeria Civil War, 1967 to 1970. In June 1967, when the Republic of Biafra declared its independence from the rest of the Nigeria, as a great nation lost many of her citizens to the bloodbath war. The war was sponsored by some of the world powers. Don't you think they have a reason, or should I call it a selfish interest? Think about the current situation Nigeria is facing today and try to research and analyze what really happened to Libya and the intervention of the West. The disequilibrium and perceived corruption of the electoral and political process led, in 1966, to back-to-back military coups. The first coup was in January 1966 and was led by Igbo soldiers under Majors Emmanuel Ifeanyi and Chukwuma Kaduna. The coup plotters succeeded in murdering Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Premier Ahmadu Bello of the northern region and Premier Ladoke Akintola of the western region. But, the coup plotters struggled to form a central government. President Nwafor Orizu handed over government control to the army, then under the command of another Igbo officer, General J.D.U. Agiyi Ironsi. Continuation, Civil War. Later, the counter-coup of 1966, supported primarily by northern military officers, facilitated the rise of Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon to head of state. Tension rose between North and South. Igbos in northern cities suffered persecution and Hausas in the eastern sites also suffered the same fate. In the May 1967, The eastern region declared independence as a state called the Republic of Biafra, under the leadership of Lieutenant Colonel Emeka Ojukwu. The Nigerian Civil War began as the official Nigerian government side, predominated by soldiers from the north and west, attacked Biafra, southeastern, on July 6, 1967 at Garkum. The 30-month war, with a long siege of Biafra and its isolation from trade and supplies, ended in January 1970. Estimates of the number of dead in the former eastern region are between 1 and 3 million people, from warfare, disease, and starvation, during the 30-month civil war. Biafra surrendered to the federal government. The selfish politicians that were involved and were sponsoring the militant with hope on their foreign allies all fail. Continuation, Civil War. France, Egypt, the Soviet Union, Britain, Israel, and others were deeply involved in the civil war behind the scenes. Britain and the Soviet Union were the main military backers of the Nigerian government, while France and others aided the Biafrans. Nigeria used Egyptian pilots for their air force. This question always comes to my mind: why does the West always forget the meaning of independent when it comes to Africa? Africa is a continent blessed with natural resources, the richest continent in the world. Dividing Africa countries into smaller countries will weaken the strength and make them subordinates to the Western countries, and this is exactly their aim: to divide Nigeria and weakens her strength to give them the power to extract natural resources from the country with the aim of assisting the Biafran major ethnic group. The major ethnic groups in Nigeria are deciding the future of Nigeria. They are not the superpowers in the country because there is no superpower in a united country. Nigeria comprises of many different ethnic groups just like China and India. The nature of corruption in the country today is a problem to the administration of every president-elect. Yoruba, the people who lived in Yorubaland, at least by the 7th century BC, were not initially known as the Yoruba, although they shared a common ethnicity and language group, putting them among the major ethnic group. Hausa, the people are a diverse but culturally homogeneous people situated between the Niger River and Lake Chad of northern Nigeria. They shared a common ethnicity and language group. Igbo, Igboland, also known as southeastern Nigeria, is the indigenous homeland of the Igbo people. It is characterized by the diverse Igbo culture and the equally diverse Igbo language, natural resources. Nigeria is one of those countries in Africa that has a wide variety of different natural resources. Nigeria is richly endowed with a variety of natural resources ranging from precious metals, various stones to industrial such as barytes, gypsum, kaolin, and marble. Most of these are yet to be exploited. Nigeria is divided into 6 geopolitical zones. These zones were not entirely carved out based on geopolitical location, but rather states with similar cultures, ethnic groups, and common history were classified in the same zone. These are North Central, Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, South-South and Southwest. These 6 political zones are each blessed with different natural resources, making it possible for them to be independent without being dependent to another. A united Nigeria can make a greater future together with all her natural resources. Any country that knows about the natural endowment of Nigeria will envy Nigerians. Nigerians should be proud of their country and say yes to united Nigeria. Corruption. Corruption is Nigeria's biggest challenge. It is clear to every citizen that the level of corruption in the country is high. It's found in every sector of society. How can Nigeria fight corruption? It is the illegitimate use of power to benefit a private interest. The leaders are all corrupt. They are the main reasons why the Biafrans are agitating that they want independent. If the leaders can come together and keep their private interest aside and think of the future of their youths, then they will be able to solve the current problems Nigeria as a country is facing today. Corruption can only be tackled at the root level, and that calls for a good leadership. Corruption today is the major problem facing the Nigeria economy growth. In a country where peace is not maintained, it pave way for the corrupt leaders to embezzle. It is the main reason why peace will be hard to maintain in Nigeria without the support of the youths, because the leaders are using them to cause crisis in the country. The youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but why are they not given chance to the youth in the country? Youth empowerment. Continuation, corruption. Causes of corruption in Nigeria: greed, poor youth empowerment, poverty and unemployment. The Nigeria politicians are greedy. They embezzle money and deposit them in foreign banks. If those money remains in Nigeria, it will increase the total GDP and improve the economy growth. Nigeria have the capability to come in agreement with the Biafran agitators in the east. If it's amnesty they want or whatsoever, let Nigeria do it for the peacefulness of the country. Questions to Nigerians. What do you think of Nigeria as a nation free from all forms of corruption? Don't you think Nigeria have what it takes to join the world powers in governing the world? Politics. The major cause of corruption, conflicts and insurgencies in Nigeria today is politics. The politicians are either directly or indirectly involved in the current insurgencies in Nigeria after giving them arms and support during elections. The politicians of Nigeria today are illegitimately using powers to benefit themselves by causing crises which are now leading to insurgencies in the country, given them more opportunities to embezzle. If the politicians are poisoning the minds of the Easterners because they are the indigenes from the oil-rich region, they should try to analyze the current situation of the country and come in agreement with present administration. In Nigeria, only the poor are agitating for an independent Biafran region of Niger Delta region, but the rich business owner will not, because division of the country will not favor their business. Currently there are different groups distracting the present administration in Nigeria. To me it is the doings of the politicians sponsoring these groups to distract the agenda of the president to fight against corruption. Politics. Boko Haram. Deadly violence broke out in July 2009 in northeastern Nigeria between government troops and an obscure fundamentalist sect, Boko Haram, which is opposed to Western education and seeks to have Sharia law implemented throughout the country. The group's name translates to Western education is sinful. As many as 1,000 civilians died in the battles. If not the influence of politicians in the country, Boko Haram would not have been strong as they are today. They are fighting against the government to implement Sharia law, and later they came on and agree for amnesty. Is that not politics? We always put the blame on our government when things are beyond us, and we have to accept that we are also part of the government. Let us join hands together to fight against corruption. Politics, militants. Since 2004, insurgency has wreaked havoc in the Niger Delta, Nigeria's oil-producing region. The desperately impoverished local residents of the Delta have seen little benefit from Nigeria's vast oil riches, and rebel groups are fighting for a more equal distribution of the wealth as well as greater regional autonomy. Violence by rebel groups has disrupted oil production and reduced output by about 20%. Nigeria is one of the world's largest oil producers and supplies the U.S. with 1/5 of its oil. Give them what they want if really they are fighting for equal distribution of the wealth. If the country is developed and agriculture becomes source of revenue for the country, the northern politicians will still sponsor agitators that will stood up and say they want the revenue generated from agriculture should also be distributed equally to the northerners. This is politics. I am calling on all Nigerians to understand the level of politics in their country and say no to violence and yes to united Nigeria. Politics, herdsmen. They are largely nomads who go through towns with their cattle. In Nigeria, the Fulani and the Hausa people dominate the northern states, with a population of well over 30 million. Why are they violent? Due to the peculiarity of the activities of the herdsmen, they move from one place to another in search of pasture. In this process, the herdsmen have reportedly encountered cattle rustlers and made complaints to the relevant authorities who fail to investigate the issue, hence their purported reason for carrying arms about. During their journey, they frequently trespass farmlands owned by locals in their host communities, destroying crops and valuables. Attempts by farmers to prevent them from causing havoc are met with stiff and violent resistance. It was noted that if the right conditions were created for herdsmen to graze their animals without moving farther away from home, some of the crisis associated with the practice would have been averted. Because of favorable grazing conditions and deliberate government policies, cattle farmers in developed countries do not move their animals around in search of grazing fields like it is done in Nigeria. Nigeria have the capability to provide for them, but the level of corruption in Nigeria today is really arming the country. Continuation, herdsmen. Recent attacks by the Fulani herdsmen. Before now, the herdsmen have been known to wreak havoc in certain communities in Nigeria, but now, the rate at which they commit these crimes has increased exponentially. According to statistics provided by the Institute for Economics and Peace, 1,229 people were killed in 2014, up from 63 in 2013, and Benue State seems to be the hardest hit in recent times. Barely 5 days to the end of Governor Gabriel Suswam's administration in May 2015, over 100 farmers and their family members were reportedly massacred in villages and refugee camps located in the Ukura, Gafa and Segusa local government areas of the state. According to reports, in July 2015, suspected herdsmen attacked Idg, a community on the outskirts of the state capital, Makurdi. Last December, 6 persons were killed at Idle village in the Oja local government area. A reprisal attack by youths in the community saw 3 Fulani herdsmen killed and beheaded. Let federal government of Nigeria do what it expected of it and ensure that Nigerians have what is required to live peacefully with one another, and we will not be hearing of herdsmen invading a community in Benue or Plateau State. They have what it takes to build a strong economy and a vibrant population, but they are failing to harness their rich resources, and that's why they are where they are today. Conflicts. Many Nigerians argue that the real reason for the violence isn't ethnic or religious differences but the scramble for land, scarce resources and political clout. Poverty, joblessness and corrupt politics drive extremists from both sides to commit horrendous atrocities. Politicians are using various means to cause crisis in Nigeria. If Nigerians can learn to tolerate and put religious and ethnic conflicts aside, they can fight against the corrupt politicians that are using such means to cause crisis in the country. Religious crisis. Religious crisis in Nigeria dates to the early 1970s and to date still persist. The ancient city of Kano is known for the Pyramid of Peanuts in the 1980s. It is one of the most volatile spots where there have been religious crisis in Nigeria. At that time, a man named Gideon Akaluka created a provocative gesture when he tore the Holy Quran in public. Ethnic crisis. Nigeria's stability has been repeatedly threatened by fighting between fundamentalist Muslims and Christians over the spread of Islamic law, Sharia, across the heavily Muslim north. The Kano riot of May 1, 1953 was the beginning of a series of violence against non-Muslims inspired by bigotry. Though closely linked with the misgivings of political leaders from time to time, religious intolerance has over the years been the fundamental cause of conflicts in Nigeria. Dividing will cause the creation of minor regions. All region will be subordinate and dependent to a foreign country either directly or indirectly. I hope it is the fate of Nigerian. Dividing Nigeria can be peaceful and cannot be peaceful, but are there any nation that was divided peacefully? If Nigeria is divided today to smaller country, in the future they all can be free and have total independence, but the citizens alive will never forget the country called Nigeria. Imagine the United States of Africa and imagine the power and strength such a unity could bring. Nigeria itself is just like a united Africa country with multi-ethnicity. We should learn from the plight of Sudan and Somalia. Sudan is divided but they are still fighting. Somalia has broken up into fragments. Libya is another country to learn from its crisis. We should not make the same mistakes. Continuation, divide. Highlighted reasons for the division. Boko Haram, North. They wanted to separate and were forced to integrate. because their Islamic religion is being abused by Western education and their culture is in jeopardy and near extinction. Biafra, East, they wanted to separate and were forced to integrate, because they were massacred in the north and were not given fair treatment in the Nigerian polity. Ojudawa, West, they wanted also to separate though they have only one man casualty Mko Abiola, still the fire and bitterness of his death will be roused. Mend, South, they wanted to separate and were forced to integrate, because their oil are tapped and land destroyed without fair compensation. These source is from a Nigeria website. I don't think these are reasons that worth the division of a country that has the largest economy in Africa. Unite. United we stand as great nation, or divided we crawl as minor region or country. If any region got her independence, the region will be directly or indirectly taking orders from other countries. They will be subordinates to a foreign country. Tolerance is the major tool we can implement in Nigeria and today to be united. A united Nigeria can make a greater future together with all her natural resources. Any country that knows about the natural endowment of Nigeria will envy Nigerians. Nigerians should be proud of their country and say yes to united Nigeria. Nigerians should take United States of America as an example of United States with diverse ethnic group with 50 states and are the most developed nation on earth. The amalgamation of Nigeria ended in January 2014 when former President Goodluck Jonathan were still in office and have the capabilities to facilitate the division of Nigeria, but instead he didn't. Not could that be because he want Nigeria to remain as a united nation?